Welcome, taking it to the nub. Well, I'm back from TPE. I saw amazing things there. And tonight, I'm going to bring to you one of the most impressive brands that I saw, especially from a booth. They had a magnificent booth. We'll talk about that. But I'm going to bring on the chairman and CEO of El Septimo Cigars, Zaya Younan. Oh, my friend, how are you again? Thank you for joining. Okay, we're live. We're on. What you doing? You smoking anything tonight?
I'm definitely smoking El Septimo Bomba now.
A Bomba. And yeah. What am I smoking? Because I'm new to your line.
That is a yellow sapphire, which is a cigar with 5 different fillers and unbelievable wrapper. So as you light it up, you're going to see a tremendous amount of combustion ignite. You're going to see a nice light blue smokes coming out, and you're going to start enjoying the cigar. Wow, that's a good combustion, yeah.
So what is so just on this one, as we get the show started, what is the blend on this one that I'm smoking?
No, the blend in El Septimo is a secret. We never show the blend, obviously. We never discuss the blend, but it has a very unique wrapper that is aged and fermented in the mountain of Costa Rica. It's got a very solid binder because, as you know, these cigars are big gauge. They need to have a very good binder. And it's got 5 specific fillers. Each filler provides a different taste and different spices and different note for you. So there are 3 components in the cigar that are very important: strength, aroma, and taste. And balancing these 3 components together, it is very difficult, because if you're going to strengthen the aroma, if you're going to strengthen the taste, you're obviously going to strengthen the cigar as a whole. So we use different binders in order to be able to neutralize that. And as you can see, the smoke is very light blue, very powerful. It's very tasty. Even at the very beginning stages, you can actually taste the fine tobacco. And that one particularly, I believe, is 7 years age. So these are all aged cigars.
Yep, well, it says 6 years on it, but yeah.
6 years, yeah, 6 years. So these are all aged cigars, and we have some bigger gauge, as you can see here, which is a Fabuloso. This is a 70 gauge, and excellent cigars, 3-hour cigar, excellent cigar. This particular one has 6 different fillers in it, so the taste, the aroma is amazing. And as you see, the signature look of El Septimo is that dark Maduro oily wrapper that creates good chunk of the taste that you experience from smoking the cigars.
Now, before we get deep into El Septimo, you didn't originally own that company. You're actually, you have a lot of things. You've got your hands into a lot of different businesses. You're big into real estate, right? And you've got a real estate investment company, I understand. How did that all come to be? I mean, how did you arrive in America, and how did you build this world of yours that then got you into buying a cigar company?
Right. Younan Company is a private equity firm. It's a privately held private equity firm. It's a $3.5 billion in asset private equity firm. And our holdings, as you know, is real estate, hotels, restaurant, golf courses, vineyard, champagne houses, design centers, manufacturing places, manufacturing facilities, and many other industries. And cigar and tobacco, which we are very big in now, it came in basically as I'm a cigar smoker for 35 years. And 5 years ago, when I came across my first El Septimo, it was a double shot. When somebody gave it to me and I smoked it, I couldn't get that taste out of my mind, because usually I really never had a one brand preference. I would smoke any kind of cigars that is good, when I started smoking El Septimo, I couldn't smoke any other cigar, which was really interesting. So, but we couldn't get it in the United States because this cigar, El Septimo, is not a new company. It's been around for 22 years. And today it sells product in 40 countries around the globe. But they never sold any product in the United States because United States was not a big market for them because they didn't have enough quantity to ship to United States. So I couldn't get a hold of him. I tried to buy him. I tried to find him. Sometimes literally I had to go all the way to Paris to be able to buy a couple of boxes and bring him back home. So we became very interested what a powerful brand it is, what a powerful product it is that has a global recognition. So we discussed with the ownership to buy the company, and a year and a half ago we purchased the company, and over 6 months ago we got all the FDA approval to be able to launch it and sell it in the United States. And in the last 6 months that we have launched this in the United States is one of the fastest and highest volume premium cigar sales in the entire country.
That's amazing.
Yeah, in less than 6 months, we ship close to 100,000 sticks a month to consumers just in the U.S.
How did they come to know you?
You know, it's interesting. The brand is new in the United States. So it was enthusiasm of the people who smoke and like it, and they post on social media, right? And it just caught on fire. El Septimo, for the past 6 months, has been mentioned or posted on social media in the United States 1.2 billion times.
1.2 billion.
Billion times, right? Exactly. In Instagram, in Facebook, in Twitter. So consumers that smoke the cigar and enjoy it so much, they post about it and people read about it and start using the product and start loving the product. So it is, you know, I've launched a lot of product in my lifetime, you know, in the last 37 years working. I have never launched a product like this, like El Septimo, that gets such a brand recognition globally and satisfies such a big chunk of the global market.
Now, how many of the lines in the portfolio existed prior to you acquiring it, and how many now are under your tutelage?
Right. When I bought the company, they had 30 different brands, which were different blend and different sizes. Since we bought the company, we introduced 10 more. So we have over 40 different blend of cigars. So literally, if you pick each one of these cigars and you smoke them, you're going to get a different note, different taste, different experience from them. And we are introducing another 7 brands in the next PCA show, which is going to be Genesis Collection. And the reason, again, we are producing different blend and different design cigars because we want to satisfy all of the consumer market.
Do you have your own fields? Now, I should rephrase this so everybody that's tuning in understands. These cigars are 100% Costa Rican Puro. They use only Costa Rican tobacco in these cigars. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. But some of these tobacco has been aged and stored for the past 20, 30, 40 years. And we are vertically integrated where we have our own field. But often we search the market for different tobacco that can create different taste and different spice in our cigars. And we usually buy them and you put them in there because there are globally today 500 different kinds of tobacco. And you would like to utilize as much as you possibly can in order to differentiate one brand from another one.
All right. So, but when you're dealing with just puros, you're limited to regions and aging as far as your selection goes. So if you have some aged tobaccos, is it possible that they can only be limited editions because you got it? Once you use it, it's done?
Well,
It's hard to recreate the experience.
it's a good question. Every year we take about 50% of our crop and we age it. We age it for 10 to 15 to 20 years. So, so we don't sell all of our crops. We age it significantly. We are probably one of the only people that devote so much of our crops into an aging process. And why are we so adamant about aging process? Because we learned that you can balance the cigar and you can control the structure of the cigar through aging, right? Through the aging process, and also to the blending process. And now we even start experimenting with some other tobacco from Nicaragua, Ecuador, Dominican Republic. We find the best tobaccos all over the world, and we try to integrate them in ours to create a new experience. Otherwise, people will get tired of smoking the same thing all the time.
And that would be where I was going, because to expand the line, you eventually have to dig into other regions, other countries, to bring in leaf to work with what you currently have. So as you grow, there will be Costa Rican puros and then other blends.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Also remember, most of the tobacco around the world, it is aged in Costa Rica, because Costa Rica is very tropical environment where there is tremendous amount of natural humidity and there is significant amount of sun. So for us to access tobacco from all over the world in Costa Rica has been very easily. And it's great for us, because what it would do, it allows us to basically experiment with a lot of blending technique in order to be able to develop a unique taste, right? Enjoyable experience, right? We probably have more different blend in our cigar line than any other cigar company in the world today.
Okay. That's a really bold statement, but
it is fact. I mean, 40 different lines, right? So there are no cigar makers in the world today that have 40 different blend of cigar except El Septimo. So, and the reason we did that, it was funny. It was experiment by our winemakers, because we have a tremendous amount of French winemakers. You know, we own two of the world's biggest chateaux for winemaking. And when they start experimenting with aging and experiment with putting a tobacco in a barrel, different barrel, vegetable oil barrel or white rum barrel, and we learned that we could actually control the quality of the smoke significantly. So as we experiment with it, we got really involved with it. It became a kind of a laboratory kid, right? You start doing more of it and more of it and more of it. This year alone, you know, we are going to introduce in the first half of this year 10 different brand of cigars in half of a year, which is pretty significant if you think about it.
Now, like me, you're an engineer to start. And I have to say that also, like me, you tend to be more of the extrovert engineer than the introvert engineer.
Yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
You have a lot of you have a lot of character out. You're the face of the company. People at that show, you were all over we were just a rocket of energy moving around that show. And I'll just announce here, if people haven't read my recap on the TPE, I have awarded you from Stogie Press Best Booth.
Thank you.
And the reason for that is when I walk around, TPE doesn't always have these really big booths. Usually there's Anchors, Drew Estate, but they pulled out. Villiger, they pulled out. So there really weren't a lot of big anchor booths. General, big anchor booth at PCA. Altadis, big anchor booth at PCA. When you walked around the show floor, it was like, there's your booth. And you didn't just have a big booth. You came to do business. You had that front counter set up where you could sit down, get a cup of coffee, a bottle of water, smoke some cigars, have that conversation. And it was very congenial, it was very easy to talk business in your booth. So how did you do?
Well, you know, I should not get any credit for that. I should give that credit to our team. who work day and night. And from beginning, they want to do something different because El Septimo is different. We don't want to be like any other cigar companies in the world, like no one. We matter of fact, never compare our cigars to others in the world, because every time we did, we noticed there's a significant superior difference, right? So our team of a bunch of young guys, actually, all from 22 to 28, they work so hard. And the actual booth was designed by our French company, MPA Creation in Paris. And the booth was built by a team of unbelievable professionals. And if you look at the displays, they were very interesting because it was a display design where you can mix the accessories with the cigars together. So it's not the typical boring display of cigar lined up right next to each other. So I shouldn't get any credit for that. I should give the credit to all those young people that did a fantastic job. And wait for PCA. We have a lot of surprises for you. PCA will be even bigger, stronger, and better. And I invite all your listeners to come out there and have some free El Septimo and smoke them and enjoy them.
Are you doing a different booth for PCA?
We are doing a similar booth. It's going to be much bigger. It's going to display 50 different kind of cigar, all El Septimo. 50 different blend and shape and design of cigars. So when you walk into our booth, there would be a tray of all these 50 in there, and you can pick and choose what you want and how you want to smoke it. See, smoking has to be a very enjoyable experience, and really is, because tobacco was actually founded 6,500 years ago. Greek were using tobacco initially for all kinds of herbal healing. Roman were using tobacco and so forth. And then obviously became introduced to the modern world when Christopher Columbus discovered Americas. But cigar is a natural tobacco, as you know. There's no chemical or anything like that, except the pesticides and that some people use during the growing process, which you use very little of it. And the level of nicotine is not significant. Plus, you don't inhale it; it just stays in your mouth and it comes out. So the level of nicotine is very balanced, right? And so some people say smoking one cigar is equivalent to smoking 100 cigarettes. Is totally wrong, right? And also, in the same token, it's totally wrong to say nicotine is bad for you, because low level of nicotine actually is found to be very good for you. You can Google it, the health benefit of natural tobacco. A red tomato has nicotine in it, and yet we eat it every day, right? Because it's good for you, right? So in El Septimo line, we try to create something that is delicious, something that is smooth to smoke, something that is enjoyable, something that you want to automatically take a draw without knowing you're taking a draw. Something that it makes you feel good at beginning while you're smoking it and when you're finished. And those are powerful cigars because the gauges is big. On some of these cigars, we have 50 grams of tobacco, right? But you could smoke it, and basically after smoking it, you will not feel any bad effect of the tobacco smoking. How do you enjoy your El Septimo so far?
So right now it's burning pretty nice. It does have a really dark ash, and I don't know if you pay attention to the color of the ash.
It's very important. Color of the ash tells you a lot. Color of the best ash of cigars, you want it to be a dark color. The reason for it is that's all the minerals in the soil. There are two plants in the world that take the quality of terra. One is wine, grapes, and the other one is tobacco. And when you see a dark ash like that, means the soil that the tobacco, that the nicotine was planted, actually is full of mineral, magnesium, full of iron, full of phosphorus, which is actually very good for you. But the dark ash is the indication of very rich and powerful tobacco.
Now, I agree with most of that, but I was educated on a slightly different approach to that. Yes, dark, you've got a lot of minerals in it. But white, what happens is if you have a combustion built sufficiently from the inside out, it should burn all of the combustible material, all of those ingredients you spoke about. It's like having a barbecue. You put a black coal on, you fire it up, they eventually turn white because all those nutrients have now burned. And if you have less than the white ash, you're maybe not getting as much out of it as you might be able to if you had combusting more, not hot to burn your mouth, but just burning that leaf so that all the combustible materials have burned. So you get a full spectrum of what's in that as far as minerals go.
Yeah, that's not necessarily true because you can burn magnesium, you can burn iron or phosphorus. It's just physically impossible, right? So and combustion has really nothing to do with that because on the combustion we use the combustion filler right at the middle. We all use the same technique. You have to use the same technique in order to get the combustion from innards to be able to spread over. Like that cigar, I believe, is 64, 65 gauges. And for you to get a beautiful circumferential burn like that, and it shows you getting a perfect combustion. On the cigar, when you're not getting a combustion, it's very noticeable. You either have a runner, you have a fork, or you basically have a tunnel. You'd be very easily to be able to tell it.
Sure.
But that cigar, looking at the screen, is burning perfectly. Yes, it's burning perfectly. Now, what you need to do, you need to take that ash off because the surface of the cigar, obviously, is where the air goes in, and you don't want to keep a long ash on it because you don't want the new air, new oxygen to travel through that. You want to keep the surface, burning surface of the cigar always clean, just like that. Now you're going to get look at the smokes, you just swallowed that smoke. So you must really be enjoying that cigar.
I don't swallow it.
Yeah, you did. It came out of your nose. Yeah, good retro air.
Oh, I don't swallow. That's just the retro air.
Yeah, just excellent retro air. Yeah.
It's very smooth on the retro hail. I notice on right below the burn line, which is something I really like, there's a lot of oils developing, which is always very nice. I always give an extra point in a review when I start to get nice oiling on the bottom of the.
The oil is very important because it keeps the wrapper together. The second thing, what it does, it creates a combustion. The oil creates an open combustion of the wrapper, so the wrapper can throw more of its flavor in your mouth, so you can experience it. And also, it's pleasant for you because when tobacco is dry and you put it in your mouth, is usually is very agitating. So you can see the oil, and if you squeeze it right now, if you squeeze that cigar, you see nothing's cracking. The wrapper is not cracking. It's just an unbelievable smoke.
It's got just the right amount of give on it. It's not squishy, so it is definitely not underfilled.
These are all hand rolled by all Cuban qualified 8 and 9 level rollers. So these are all hand rolled. The leaf is all pure leaf. We put the whole leaf in it. So because of those, usually on the squeezability or on their combustion burnability, you get a very consistent repeat from cigar to cigar. But El Septimo is one cigar that is actually very scientifically made. We use a lot of science in making it. What we learned from making wine over the last so many years, now we use it in making a perfect tobacco. Tobacco is a very sensitive plant. So you have to be very careful around that. And also, another reason that the aroma is so nice and aroma doesn't get to your clothes and everything is because we use very, very, very little pesticides because we are in a high mountain, high altitude. The air is very thin. There aren't that many flies out living in that altitude that be able to spread the diseases around the leaf. So these are very natural, organic tobacco.
Very good. So you hit on a couple of points. I'm going to take a short break here to give a shout out to my sponsors of this show. When I come back, I want to talk a little more about the science because I'm a science guy, and I want to dig into some of your accessory line because that was also spectacular. So we'll be
absolutely
right back. Let me just give a shout out to our sponsors. So today's show is brought to you by the Cigar Clowns, If you notice cigar clowns on Facebook, they're always looking for the next great cigar. They search high and low to find the cigars. They're very limited what they get. And when they're done, they're done. So check out Cigar Clowns or forget about it. The show is also brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar, resulting in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. This brand and work is done to honor their grandfather and to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Next time you're looking for an exquisite cigar experience, check out Nova Cigars at www.novacigar.com. Also check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Show's also brought to you by Tarazona Cigars. Tarazona Cigars, they do it with passion. Arizona handmade long leaf cigars are each rolled to the highest quality by masterful rollers. Each hand that touches the process takes pride in the quality and craftsmanship of every cigar that goes into every box of Tarazona. So next time you're looking for a fine smoke, maybe do it with some passion and reach for Tarazona. You can follow Tarazona Cigars on Facebook and Instagram and visit them at www.tarazonacigars.com. We're also brought to you by Rockefeller Cigars. Rockefeller Cigars just recently introduced the Art of Magic. Owner Kevin Schweitzer himself is a magician. And at the show, he had a magician. And I think we'll talk a little bit about that later because he came to your party. And that was pretty awesome what he did. So next time you look at that, experience the magic, reach for Rockefeller Cigars. And lastly, this show is also brought to you by La Jolla del Chan. La Jolla del Chan is a Puerto Rican-based cigar company owned by husband-wife team Gabby, El Chan, and Liz. They want all hands that work the tobacco leaf in their home country of Puerto Rico to have the same opportunity to expose their products. They call it La Jolla del Chan because since they cultivate part of their product, they want to be able to supply the world with their native tobacco leaf. So the pride that Gabby and Liz feel is the same pride of all those who work the leaf. And for those, they deserve a portal for that represents their work. Thank you for supporting their country. And they like to say, we will resist. So that is the sponsors. Without my sponsors, this show is always a little bit harder to do. Now let's get back to the show. So yes, science of cigars, science of blending. We all know that there is a craft that goes into this from a rolling perspective, but there's science that goes into what you put into it and science in growing the leaf, curing the leaf, aging the leaf, and fermenting it. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Sure. Actually, the most important part of cigar is not which territory comes from, Cuba or Nicaragua or Costa Rica. None of that matters now because in the new world, you have in each country one or few other companies producing a magnificent cigars, magnificent tobacco. So the most important aspect of any cigar first is the tobacco. Your tobacco has to be very good. Your tobacco has to be grown in the right region where the tobacco is not very thick. The stems are not very big, has grown in the volcanic soil where it's got all kinds of minerals on it and so forth. Where during a growth, because every year we have to plant a seed for Nicotina plant, during the growth, not too much application of pesticides apply to it, because often when you smoke the cigar and there is too much pesticides on it, it becomes very obnoxious, it becomes aromas very terrible, and it gives you a nauseous feeling. Where you feel nauseous, you start sweating, you just don't feel good, right? So the very first important is the tobacco itself, right? And where do you find this tobacco? How could you access it? And each cigar makers, even if they're vertically vertically capable means they have their own field. We always buy tobacco from other people because we want those spices. We want those unique leaf in order to create a unique cigar end product. So tobacco is number one important thing, right? Not country of origin, right? Tobacco itself, right? The second important is the fillers, right? Most of the cigar industry, they have 2 to 3 fillers. We have 3 to 5 fillers. So we have double the fillers in our cigars. And with the fillers, number one is expensive. It's expensive to put different fillers in there because you have to find them. Number two, with the filler, it becomes more difficult to balance the cigar because you have more component of spices, more component of note to make sure they go hand to hand, and collectively they give you a final perfect test, right? So that becomes very important. The fillers become very important. The third is blending, right? How well you blend the cigar. How do you blend the cigar, right? You blend the cigar, what do? You just basically roll with different leaf. You smoke it in order to get a good understanding if the blend is good or not or what. We use different technique. One of the technique we use is smelling, because smoking becomes difficult because they're not cured enough. Because by the time you make the cigar, you basically have to wait minimum of 3 to 6 months before you smoke it, right? Because you have to let the moisture level to balance itself out into the cigar. And you also have to let the leaf collectively adjust to the new environment, right? So we smell the tobacco. We have smellers that basically smell different blend of the cigars together. We have tasters from all over the world. Most of our tasters are winemakers, so they have a very unique palate, very special palate that is complicated, and they know what they look for, right? The fifth is basically how you store your tobacco. Most of the people use wet technique storing. They store them into boxes or underleaf. We store it in natural open air environment. So it takes a lot of sun and it takes natural moisture. So we can control the thickness of the tobacco very well. And also we can better utilize perfect drying of the leaf. Sometimes if you buy a cigar and you take a knife and open it, sometimes you find green pieces of leaf in it, right? Which is a total should be reject. It should never happen, because smoking those green leaf actually can give you nauseous feeling, can overwhelm you and make you feel actually not enjoying the cigar, right? So we store them in a natural environment, and then we store them for many years in the different barrels. Sometimes we store them in the wine barrels. Sometimes we store them in the white rum barrels. And all of them, the final storage is in a natural vegetable oil to give it that glossiness, to give it a better combustion, and to be able to lock in the moisture into a cigar. So that basic summary is the science of the cigar. So sometimes when people say to me, "Oh, I only smoke Cuban, I like Cuban," I say, "What does that mean?" Right? There are Cuban cigars that are very good, and there are Cuban cigars that are very bad, right? In the same region, other region, there are cigars that are very good, cigars are very bad. So basically, you know, when I'm sitting across the table from you, I don't ask you what kind of cigar you smoke, right? I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna look at the cigar basically from the wrapper and the way it burns. I can tell you where that cigar comes from without asking you anything, because I know how wrappers, who use what wrappers are available. Also the color of the ash, right? The color of the ash, the gauges of the cigar. Technically, it is easier to make a cigar that is a small gauge, like 50 gauge, and is far, far, far more difficult to make a bigger gauge cigar. But why do we make bigger gauge cigar? Because we want to put multiple fillers in it that are different leaf in order to create taste and notes that people have not experienced it smoking other cigars. That's why some of our cigars, for example, like Fabuloso, it is a 70 gauge, but it's got 48 grams of tobacco in it. And when this is a 3-hour smoke, when you smoke the cigar, you basically experience taste and notes that you usually don't in a smaller gauge cigars. Okay.
So one of the questions I have from the audience, Jeff Walsh asks, do you make a Churchill size?
A very good question. Churchill size is not a complicated cigar, but to make a perfect Churchill size, you have to have a very complicated tobacco, right? Because it's a big cigars and it's going to burn through in a long time. You're going to go to 6 transition. Typical cigars give you 3 transition. Complicated long cigar give you 6 transition. So we've been working to create a Churchill cigar for the past 5 years. And our first Churchill cigar will be introduced at the PCA show. And it is a perfect Churchill cigar because it got our special Maduro wrapper. We're also going to introduce Lancero. We're going to introduce Salman, Torpedo, Toro. We're going to introduce 7 different configurations of the sizes. But after so many years, we learned how to do it right. So I can't wait for Jeff to try one of our Churchill cigar because I know he's going to have a different experience compared to smoking other Churchill cigars.
Very good. Going back to the green leaf, have you considered, not normal green leaf, but have you considered using a candela in your cigars at all?
We have considered that. Of course, we have considered others too, because they're very different ways of doing things. It is important to be able to dry the cigar because the nicotina leaf is very thick, and you have to make that skin, that leaf, much thinner in order to build the quality of cigar, because you have to dry out the stems too. We usually cut the bottom stems out, but you can't cut all the stems out because then the tobacco leaf will fall apart, right? And you don't want people to be smoking stems, right? Sometimes when I take other people's cigars and I light it, and I see the stems, I feel the stems, because as soon as you smoke the stems, you can tell the stems. So basically, you cannot really shortcut the process of making a perfect cigar. You got to go to a long, elaborated process. We make wine, and our wine is some of the best wine in the world. Some of our bottles go for $4,000 a bottle. But making a perfect cigar is as complicated as making a perfect wine. From the time we pick the leaf to the shortest time for putting the earliest cigar out takes us 5 years. Where average other brand is less than 1.5 years to 2 years.
Okay.
So drying a cigar to eliminate the green out of it has to be a natural, long process, because also if you achieve that, you'll be able to create a thinner tobacco leaf, which you need for a perfect cigar.
Very good. Very knowledgeable. Thank you. Let's talk about swag. Let's talk about your accessory line, which was as beautiful as the cigars laid out, as the booth. One of the attractive parts of your booth was all this beautiful, beautiful swag, leather cases, leather bags. I mean, these are things, beautiful lighters. Talk a little bit about your accessories and what they go for. I know you have a lighter that sells for like $30,000 retail.
Yeah, it's my very special lighter. Accessory is very important because I learned a lot at my 59 years of age. I learned a lot from young American smokers. I love talking to them because every time I talk to them, I learn so much from them. And I've noticed that they take a pride in smoking a cigar, and they take a pride in creating digital content on their social media and post it. And I always noticed that they were posting a cigar with not so beautiful or luxury accessory line, either the cutter or the lighter or the cigar case or Havana carrier and so forth. So I said, it is important part of the experience smoking a cigar, the entire accessory. So we start creating it. We start creating our accessory with our company that we own, MPA Creation in Paris, that they design purses for Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Gucci, Dior, and they start designing them. And this coming PCA, we're gonna introduce 40 brand new accessory lines. Wolf Thinness torch lighter, world thinnest torch lighter that you can put in your pocket, not know is in your pocket, yet it is a torch, right? Humidors that are made from stone. You saw them in the TPE show. These humidor can live for thousands of years. It could be passed from you to your children and their children, right? So we're creating a lot of interesting things because El Septimo is a brand, right? And El Septimo is a brand that we pursue perfection. It is very important for us to create great product that people enjoy. And you will start seeing far more new product that would be part of the El Septimo brand, including watches, including clothing, shoes, and so forth, that we're going to introduce in the market mostly this year, 2021. So we're excited.
You sound excited, and I'm excited. I mean, I saw what you did at TPE, and this is just growing like a snowball in front of us.
Yeah. One of the problem is in United States, there is 3,000 different brands of cigars, right? Some are truly credible cigar makers, and many are the individual who call a factory. They say, hey, give me this cigar, put my name on it, put my artwork on it. I want to sell it under my brand. In many ways, that has really damaged the industry because a lot of consumers go in the market, they go in the cigar lounge, they go in the humidor, and they lost as what they want to buy because they don't know. It's like going to Albertson, seeing soaps on the shelf everywhere, right? You're confused which soap you want to buy, right? So we wanted to create something so different that by looking at it, you can tell it's a superior product. By touching it, you can feel it is a superior product. By lighting and smoking it, you are convinced is a perfect product. We invested millions in R&D. We searched the market to find the best tobacco, best blenders, best rollers, best aging technique. Our wine bottles are sought after worldwide because they use them in bourbon and they use them in whiskey and scotch. And we had a huge business selling our barrels to all of these distilled houses that they use our barrel to color their spirit, right? Because the redness comes from the barrel, right? And since we started El Septimo, we brought in the United States, we have stopped selling our barrels. And we keep them strictly to be able to store leaves, El Septimo leaves in them, sometimes as long as 3 to 5 years before it is used for rolling to be produced for consumer to enjoy. So it is a unique product, right? It is completely different than any other cigars you have experienced. I mean, you can tell by color, you can tell by gauges, you can tell by, look at the way you're smoking that cigar. You know, you smoked it twice as fast as you should have been smoking it because you're getting repeated draw after draw from it because you enjoy it, right? So I think we achieved that because I have never met a person that smoked El Septimo cigar and said anything but it was the best cigar I ever smoked. So that by itself keeps us excited, energetic to create more product and to grow and become the luxury cigar maker in the world. Not only cigar accessory. By the way, we are the only company in the world. We are the only cigar company in the world that we have a full line of accessory of our own.
That's, I love what you have. I mean,
yeah. And the reason, Jimmie, we created these two lighters, which are very unique, they're the best, mechanically, they're the best lighters in the world, best torch lighters in the world. With these lighters, you cannot burn the wrapper. The heat is generated perfectly in the blue flame that is difficult to burn the wrapper to damage the wrapper. And we wanted to create product like this to go head to head with St. DuPont, to show that even St. DuPont been in business for 250 years, we could come in, do something in United States that is even better than the best like ST DuPont. And our lighters are noted the best performing lighter in the world. And they look very beautiful, very nice, very lightweight, easy to carry, create a perfect torch. You can hardly see the torch, but the heat level is unbelievable. So, and it's so light, you can put it in your pocket and so forth.
Now, does that lighter come in other variants where it doesn't have, that's got the 24 karat gold on it?
Mm-hmm. This was limited edition. We made it out of 24 karat gold because we call it a Napoleon edition collection. And however, we are coming on by end of this year, similar lighter to these that are not pure gold, they're gold plated, and they will retail for $300 per piece. So so we're covering all of our angle. You know, it's interesting, you know. That's why you go on social media, you see so many people. We create a new Instagram account, El Septimo Luxury. And in a short period of time, we had a huge amount of followers because these are the people that just truly like the product. They enjoy the product.
Very good. Now, how many retailers do you have so far in the United States?
In United States, there is close to 5,000 retailers that sell cigars, either lounges or similar of it. Right. Today, we are in less than 30 retailers today. And the reason for that, we are rolling it out slowly because it's very important. Whoever retail our product can talk about our product, has to explain the product. If you cannot explain our product, if you cannot understand why El Septimo is superior, you won't be able to sell this product and see you. However, I think by end of this year, 2021, we will be close to 1,000 retailer. But our online sale, people can order, can call, can go to online, order a piece, order the cigars, and it'll be shipped to them next day. But majority of our focus is to build a chain of credible retailer cigar lounges that can explain the product, right? That they can remember 40 different names, right?
So at this point, if a consumer was interested in your product and there wasn't a lounge near them, they can go to elseptimo.com or
They can go to elseptimo.com, place their order, product will be shipped the same day, or they could call our California headquarter office and then place the order through phone, and the product will be shipped and they get it the next day.
Okay. And if they call through California, do they pay California taxes?
Well, the prices that we have, we obviously pay the California taxes into it. But depending where we ship it, if the customer is in California, be paying the California taxes. If the customer's other places, we'll be paying the appropriate taxes.
Where I am in Florida, where there are no taxes, the price that's on there on the site today, is that price a California-based price, or is that
no? That is a price that is a universal price without the taxes on it added. Yeah.
So if you're interested in these cigars, folks, you can always go to elseptimo.com.
elseptimo.com, yeah, or call our office in Los Angeles at 818-703-9600. Place your order, and then it will be shipped the same day. You get it the next day. Yeah.
Very good. Let's talk about your party. Okay, so you had this beautiful VIP party. We got to sample some El Septimo cigars. We had great food, by the way. That was some of the best food I had in Vegas the whole week. Although I didn't go too far.
And don't forget a cake that was made with tobacco leaf.
Yes, exactly. It was awesome. I mean, everything that you did was top notch. We did get a little confused getting there, but that's okay. That's not your fault. That's the hotel's fault. They didn't know where to send people, which was hilarious. But we got there, and we enjoyed the beverages. We enjoyed the cigars, the food. I don't hear anybody complain. But during that party, my good friend Kevin Schweitzer from Rockefeller brought in his magician, and you were kind of the sidekick of doing that, where you were explaining to people that the magician smoked one of your cigars, and he has got all this great magic in his head.
He did enjoy our cigar.
He did. He
Yeah.
absolutely did.
And it's funny, he wasn't a big guy, he was a little guy, yet he light up one of our big gauge cigar and he smoked it all the way to the end.
He did. And oh, by the way, if anybody hasn't seen him doing the magic, I have to give big shout out to my friends over at Cigar Dojo, who got a great video up, and it's in my recap of the show.
Yeah.
You hit that link and you could watch him do that. And I've watched him do that trick 5 times.
And you still.
And I kept looking for the sleight of hand. I kept looking to see what he's doing. When I got home, I looked up some of those tricks, because nowadays you can find anything on Google, right? And I was like, yeah, I see what he's doing, but man, I didn't see that. He was so perfect, man.
Yeah. It was a great evening. It was a great evening. And the fact we could all smoke, that's why I love these shows. I get up in the morning, I start smoking all the way to the time I go to sleep. So it was great to be able to smoke with a bunch of your friends, your colleagues. And we were fortunate the last day of the show, Las Vegas lifted a COVID restriction. People started removing their masks and so forth. But we will have a bigger party on PCA show, and all of your listeners are welcome to attend. But El Septimo, we focus on pleasing our customers, either through cigar, to accessories, to our party, to our interaction, to experience of them dealing with us. Everything is about perfection. So we constantly try to rebuild ourselves to be a really premium supplier of a cigars and a tobacco. It's funny, smoking cigars, it was a privilege in the United States back in 1900. Matter of fact, have you ever heard about the terms that says close but no cigar?
Yeah.
Do you know where that comes from?
I've heard this, but tell me again.
From 1900 to 1920, all of the fairground in America, the only price they gave when you would play the game was give you cigars.
Oh yeah, at carnivals.
At carnivals, they didn't give you a little teddy bear. They didn't give you cotton candy. They gave you cigars. So they gave a cigar to a little kid who threw the ball into the hole, right? So that's where the concept comes from. But back then, cigar was really a privileged experience. So, if you're rich, if you're accomplished, you will enjoy smoking a cigar because it relaxes you, it calms you down. It is, somebody told me the other day, it is a cheapest indulgence for any man or woman could have, right? You want to indulge yourself. You want to take a few hours, just relax and enjoy something is far better alternative than drinking, obviously, because it doesn't give you all that afterwards effect. But back then it was a privilege, right? But it's coming back now again, in the United States. The cigar sales almost hits $488 billion industry, and it's growing like this. You see younger people smoking it. You see man and woman. Fastest growing segment in cigar industry right now is women smoking it and enjoying it, right? So the point is, it's becoming a part of our everyday life. You see it every day, right? And that's one of the reasons that we want to get into the entire line of products, that it becomes a strong, powerful brand. Is a headache for us because everything has to be perfect, but it's a joy for us if we can accomplish it.
Now, when you talk about women cigar smokers, you have 5 children, one of which your daughter Alexandra came out. She has her own line in your portfolio.
Well, it's funny. About 20 years ago, essentially most of the sommelier for wine worldwide were men, right? But for 20 years, we're seeing more and more women becoming sommelier, where today top sommeliers in the world are actually women. And the reason for it is because women genetically have 50% better capability of diagnosing the smell and the taste. This is why, again, some of the top chefs in the world are women, right? Their nose and their taste buds on their tongue is far more accurate and sensitive than men. So because of that, right? And also women are more, because of the nose smell, the cigar cannot be overbearing, cannot be overpowering, has to be balanced. Otherwise, they're not going to like it because they're more sensitive. They have better capability of telling a smell and a taste, right? So then my daughter said, you know, she said, this is a wrong, you need to have a blend for us, right? It doesn't mean if it's stronger or weaker, it has nothing to do with the strain, but it's got to do with amount of aroma and spices we put in it. So we came up with Alexandra collection, which you get both Cocoa and Maryland, which frankly, I love smoking those. I smoke those actually all day, every day sometimes. They're unbelievably balanced cigars. You could smoke them, and after you stop smoking them, you won't have smell in your clothes and your hair. So it is a very manageable experience. Yes, but we are the first cigar company in the world that we created unique of its own blend for the woman. We just didn't take the same cigar, we put a different band on it. We changed the entire chemistry of that cigar.
Nice, nice. At this point, what I like to do is I go into a little what's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press. And when we come back from that, we'll go through a little lightning round with you, and we'll wrap this up.
Great.
So this week in Stogie Press, let me just tee this up right. So I didn't do any reviews this week because last week I was at TPE. The palate's kind of burned out from a week of smoking cigars, like you said, from night to day to night. So basically, it's all news. So the news articles this week that came out, Alec Bradley is going to be presenting a limited edition Magic Toast box press Grand Toro at the PCA trade show in July. You read that article here. This is the the recap. So I noted that the premium cigars and weed reopened Las Vegas. So you were there. You understand what I'm saying. There is a cigar footprint, and then there's a CBD, vape, and glass footprint, and they featured a lot of what they call Delta 8, which is a derivative of THC. And there was a big push for that all around that side. So when I walked around there, I was like, okay, we're reopening Vegas. And oh, by the way, this is the first trade show in Vegas since the pandemic. And obviously the first cigar trade show in about a year and 4 months. So really good opening. A lot of new retailers I met, and some new brand owners like yourself and others. There was obviously COVID restrictions. We kept getting yelled at by the COVID police. There they are. Put the mask on if you're walking around the floor. I helped a friend of mine from Tobacco Trading Company, Patrick Potter, set up his booth. First time presenter. He had a small booth. A lot of trials and tribulations in setting up a booth. I'm going to be writing an article about what that takes. And then I gave out some awards. We gave out the best cigar 2020 to Rocky Patel for the Grand Reserve, and also the best small company of the year cigar, which was Stallone Cigars for the Alizon Habano. Best booth goes to El Septimo. This is their booth. So those that didn't see this article, this is some of the accessory lines that they have. Their cigars. This is the front desk I talked about. You walked in, they were ready to do business. I mean, you walked in, you sat down, and you'd be able to have that conversation. And then I went through the rest of this article, goes through highlights of many different brands, many of the sponsors of Stogie Press, and then into others. So you can read that article when you get a chance. You give you good highlight and pretty in-depth coverage of what we went through at TPE. Drew Estate announced that they're returning the Pope of Greenwich Village as a smoke-in exclusive. So you can read about that. That should be hitting smoke-in shelves shortly. About a month or so ago, we reported that Jesse Flores was joining Mombacho Cigars as the head of the design team. to do all of their design of their boxes, their artwork, their swag. But I guess they didn't see eye to eye on everything, so he has now since departed Mombacho. So that lasted about a month. Jesse still is doing what he's been doing with his Victims 1975 line of all kinds of art. And if anybody's looking for a creative director, Jesse's on the market again. Sinestro Cigars debuted their El Burro at TPE. I do have this. I will be reviewing this once we get into the TPE review cycle. Maya Selva debuted the Compe Robusto Maduro. I really like their original Compe. There's another Parisian company for you. I'm sure you're familiar with Maya Selva, one of the first women cigar owners in the world. And they introduced their Compe Robusto Maduro. And Rockefeller Cigars debuted their limited Cameroon Art of Magic, and of course had their magician there, so you can read about that. And then the CRA has elected new leaders, and you can read all about that. So that's the news. No reviews. I'm sorry, I can't review something when my palate's been hammered for a week of cigar smoking. It would be disingenuous to do that to brand owners. So that's the news on Stogie Press. Let's do a fast lightning round. I know you said you picked up an El Septimo and you said, that's the cigar, I love this, and eventually you loved it so much you bought the company. What was your first cigar you ever smoked?
The very first cigar I smoked, it was given to me in Berlin. It was a double shot, El Septimo double shot. It's a 68 gauge cigar. And I remember it was freezing cold. It was January in Berlin. And usually anybody cannot smoke in a cold environment like that. So I said, I'm going to go out there for 10 minutes, just smoke something, and then come back in. I went outside. Somebody gave me the El Septimo. I was out there in the cold, 2.5 hours smoking the entire thing, right? And it is a very delicious cigar. It's got 5 different fillers in it. And the wrapper is completely different. It is a thicker wrapper, but it's a very unique wrapper because we find this on some of our plants only in certain mountainous location. And you can never get enough of it. So it burns very well, it's full of taste, full of character, very easy to smoke, and very enjoyable. It's about an hour, 45 minutes smoke.
So basically you've been, if I do the math right, been smoking cigars for about, what, 20 years?
No, I'm 59 years old, and I've been smoking cigar for 35 years now.
Was El Septimo around 35 years ago?
Pardon me?
Were they around?
No, not El Septimo. The very first, smoking cigar in general. The very first El Septimo I smoked was 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 5 years ago. Yeah,
first cigar.
That was the first cigar. And after I smoked El Septimo 5 years ago, the first one, I couldn't smoke anything else. So I just started smoking El Septimo.
So you've built a rather really luxurious life. You've worked hard. You've run numerous businesses. You have a private equity firm. So if you were to choose a place to go on vacation, what is your favorite vacation spot in the world?
It's funny. Don't call me a bias, but I love to go to France, Paris. As you know, we own a lot of hotels. We're one of the biggest privately owned hotel owners in France. And our hotels are unique because they're all used to be castle, belong to Napoleon, Louis XIII, Francois the King, and we convert them to the hotel. So you'd be sleeping in a museum, which is great. But I love going to France because I love the drinks. I love the champagne, the wine. I love the cognac. I love the Armagnac. I love the zest for life. I love my favorite thing in the world, Jimmie, is to walk in Paris in the street and smoke a cigar. That's my favorite thing to do in the world.
That's what I did. I went over there with my wife for vacation, and she always tells me she gets one non-cigar vacation a year for me.
Yeah. So,
but we went there, and I of course I've got to smoke cigars, but I'm trying not to visit cigar shops, right?
Yeah.
And I remember actually sitting outside a cafe, smoking a Maya Selva, and then taking a picture of that in front of the Eiffel Tower and sending it to her.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're right. It's just something special about sitting outside or walking the streets. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's Paris,
Yeah.
with the city.
Yeah.
Walk around and it's relaxing.
Yeah, and it's funny now the travel next week, the travel to Europe's going to all open up, so anybody from the United States can travel to Europe, so it's all going to be great, you know. But that's my favorite place to go, because we also have a vineyard in Bordeaux, Saint-Emilion region, and I love going out there drinking wine, you know. A lot of people pair cigars with scotch or whiskey, but actually the best drink to pair it with, first of all, the best drink to pair it with is ice water, right?
Cool.
Because human body temperature is 97 degrees, and a cigar can increase your body temperature 3 to 4 degrees, so it can get you to 101. That's why some people start sweating and are feeling nauseous. They think it's from tobacco, it's from being overheated. But the best drink that complements tobacco, first of all, has to be a cold drink, right? Has to be a drink that is a little bit sweet, like bourbon. People like bourbon with cigar because get that sweetness of the corn in it, because it's made with the corn, right? But white wine, champagne, they go perfect with the cigar. They're cold. They have a natural sweetness of the grapes. Also, grapes is a cousin of nicotina plant. So that's another reason the two cousins nicotina plant has are grapes and also cocoa, the coffee.
Yeah.
And that's why they go so well together when you enjoy the smoking of the cigar. But smoking a cigar is an art. And if you smoke it right, if you cut it right, if you light it right, if you enjoy it with the right company, it is truly an amazing experience for people. You know, it relaxes you, calms you down. It just, as I've said, really a low cost of indulging yourself to something really good.
Absolutely. And that's why we do it, have conversation and all the good things that go along with the cigar culture. Last question, and I'll spotlight you on this. There's no context to this discussion. It's a simple answer. I ask everybody the same question. It's just for fun. Skirts or pantsuits?
Pantsuits.
Oh, you are in a minority.
Yeah.
You're my club.
we like to be in minority. That's why we're so unique. We can create El Septimo, right? We like to think different. We like to go against the grains. We like to go against the thought process. Funny thing is, all of the testers we use today are not the traditional cigar smoker, the old guys who've been smoking cigar, who they think they know what cigar is all about. It's all young guys. It's all between age of 22 to 30 that we use for them to tell us what they're experiencing with our cigar. Every cigar that we blended, it goes through 3 stages of our preference for tasting, but then we send it out to 1,000 people from all over the world. And we ask them to write us a paragraph of their experience smoking it. And then we take all these data, so we come up with the best blend that satisfies as much as people as possible.
What a great way to do it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, cigar industry's been complacent because people make cigars and they sell them easily. It's a $500 billion industry. So right now we put a little bit rush and urgency in other competitors we have, because they see us being so unique, doing so many things. You know, every year we introduce 10 line of new cigars. Who does that, right? But we do it because we truly love it, you know, including a little small one, which is a 20-minute smoke. You put this in your pocket, so when you go from meeting to meeting, you have only 20 minutes. This will give you the entire 3 stages of experience in 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I travel,
who doesn't need that?
Yeah, when I travel, I fill my pocket with these, and then as I go from hotel to hotel, location to location, I light one up. I love it.
That's amazing. I've never seen that. I mean, I've seen.
You know, it's funny. Somebody was telling me the other day. He said, "Mr. Younan, you have 58 companies, over 15,000 employees globally, but you spend 80% of your time at El Septimo." And I was thinking about it. It's just because I love the product so much, right? It's just I'm gonna smoke one now as soon as I'm done with you. You know, it's just something you look forward to it, right?
Absolutely.
But we come from tobacco family. My wife smokes, I smoke. I have 5 children, they all smoke. And sometimes actually we get together, and my youngest boy is 17 years old. And after dinner, we all light a cigar and we all talk about the week, what happened during the week. And we talk about the cigar, we talk about what's missing, what's not missing, and to create a good experience for people.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you for spending an hour, a little more than an hour with me and my viewers. This will stay up on Facebook Live throughout the eternity, but I'll take this and I kind of downplay it a little bit, fix it up, and then push it out to my YouTube channel where it's archived and everybody can see these as they move forward. We'll keep a track of how things go over the week as far as people tuning in, because sometimes they come in later. I want to thank my sponsors, obviously, for keeping the show alive. It's always great to know that people are behind it. I'll give you the last word.
Enjoy your cigar. Have a wonderful weekend, and hope we do this again.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.